we start with the lowly matchup between the 10th place Kingback Kids and the 8th place Belichick My Balls. Dave McCann's squad got off to a hot start with 13 points from Deshaun Peter Jackson, who lit up the air like the dragon Smaug, flying through Middle-earth. Then we had the league's auto industry, led by Hunter Henry Ford with 11 points and Marlon Mack Truck with 15. But considering how the game ended, you'd guess the truck was being driven by a drunk Dante Stallworth. The Belichick boys quickly responded with 14.8 points from Mike Wallace and Gromit, and T.Y. Paris Hilton, making it look simple with 21 points. On Sunday Night Football, Mike sealed the game with 15 points from Tyreek Jonah Hill, who showed us his speed more than his wiener, and scored his 15th touchdown in 21 games. And 27 points from Alex Jones-Smith, who, for the first time in his career, has 2 300-yard games in the same season. Combine those numbers and it makes 600, the same amount of votes that Hillary Clinton won the popular vote by. Stay woke. Belichick My Balls beats the Kingback Kids 122-104. We head to the top of the standings for the game of the week between first place Dallas King Boys and the third place Dream Team. Shane started right with 20 points from Antonio What Can Brown Do For You, who was running around the stadium like Mike Pence looking for the exit at Lucas Oil. Then came Michael Keaton Crabtree, who was playing like he was back in his prime of Batman when he's really trying to revive his career like Birdman. Either way, just like in the other guys, he don't want no scrubs. Speaking of scrubs, don't forget about Zach Braff Ertz, scoring 15 points from the tight end position. Meanwhile, Pete's running backs Doug Steve Martin and Kareem Bonnie Hunt paired together for the best performance that I've seen since Cheaper by the Dozen. All capped off with 13 points from Pierre Maguire Garçon. I call him that because he has a weird French name and he just doesn't seem to go away. But you know who did go away? Pete, as he loses to Shane 105-90. King State Kings. Next, the real toilet bowl, featuring the 5th place Blee Mode and the 7th place Breeze Nuts. Frank and the boys were led by Duke Magic Johnson and his 15 points, who scored a touchdown by leaping higher than his white blood cell count and proved that even if you have AIDS, at least you're not part of the Cleveland Browns. Next was Marshawn Bean Lynch, who had 1 touchdown for 006 points. That's a GoldenEye joke. One thing is for sure, as Marshawn Lynch heats up and autumn winds cool down, winter is coming. Kevin started out with 15 points from Steven Tyler Guskowski, who made all field goals and proved he don't want to miss a thing. For those that say he's better than Vinatieri, I say, dream on. Then, on Sunday, Philip Cry Me a Rivers said bye-bye-bye to the Chargers' winless season with 21 points. Then, on Sunday Night Football, Will Fullerhouse exploded with 19 points. Since coming back from injury, he's had 4 touchdowns in 2 games. That's a greater comeback than Jody Sweeten with a meth addiction. Breeze Nuts teabags Blee Mode 95-74. Next, 2 teams on opposite sides of the standings. The 2nd place Passion Express and the 11th place New Jersey Jets. Jokum hit the ground running with 18 points from Jameis Winston Churchill, who immediately held up the V for victory despite the fact he was playing against the real Allied powers, the New England Patriots. Leonard Nimoy Fournette, who looks like he will live long and prosper in this league, said, "Beam me up, Scotty," on a gravity-defying touchdown. It's funny to have such a man on this team when you consider the owner, Jokum, wears Sulu lemons. That's a Star Trek joke. Then came Odell Beckham with 19 points before he rolled-elled his ankle, ending his season, causing the Giants to blow Dell yet another game in the 4th quarter. They are now Odell and 5. Nick did everything he could, leaning on Jarvis Green Ellis Landry and his 13 points. Melvin Gordon Ramsey burned the Giants defense like an amateur chef cooking a steak on his way to 31 points, leaving a bad taste in every defender's mouth. In the 4 p.m. slot, Cole Pam Beasley did everything he could to answer the call like a Dunder Mifflin receptionist and scored 16 points as a result. Instead, like the last 2 seasons of The Office, his fans were left disappointed as Nick falls to Jokum 135-116. Next, the lowly 9th place Smokin' Blunts took on the even lower 12th place Dracarys. Flaherty relied on his founding fathers, the to 22 points from Devontae John Adams and 14 from Kelvin Benjamin Franklin, as he fucked the Detroit Lions defense harder than a harlot in Paris, France. It goes without saying, he sure knows how to make things electric. Finally, Le'Veon Alexander Graham Bell was the first to make the calls in scoring 14 points. Pizzoni rode the coattails of Cameron Alexander the Great on Thursday night as he treated the field like the world map, conquering everything in sight. On Sunday, Cam Newton Gingrich, aka former Speaker of the Routes, delivered 26 points, one for every vitamin and mineral he no longer obtains from yogurt. Finally, Jimmy Fallon Graham, despite being under the weather with a fever pitch, did everything he could to save the game with a 12-point effort. Unfortunately, his performance, like all of his jokes, just fell flat. Pizzoni gets laughed out of the stadium, 119-108. Then, in the final matchup of the week, we had the Battle of the Mats, with 4th place Jokum's Hummus and 6th place Domestic Disputers. Adam Carolla Vinatieri got started early with 18 points, including a game winner in overtime, leaving Colts fans jumping like hot girls on trampolines. Speaking of boobs, Pat's favorite duo, the Double Ds of Dak Prescott and Dez Bryant, took over with 30 and 13 points. Finally, DeAndre 3000 Hopkins said hey ya to the haters with 25 points in his performance. That was so impressive, I know he likes to think his shit don't stink. Not to be musically outdone, Mac unleashed AJ CeeLo Green with 26 points. After a slow start to the season, Green has said fuck you to the haters with a touchdown in his last 3 games. Does that make him crazy? Possibly. Ezekiel Elliott put up 13 points, but was unable to phone home as he was kept out of the end zone all day. Lastly, an amazing performance from Aaron Hernandez Rodgers, getting 24 points, but it was still not enough. I call him that because despite his talent, he still leaves his team hanging. Get it? Pat edges out Mac, 123-118.